सदा सवित्रमण्डल मध्यवर्ती नारायण सरसिजासन सन्निविष्ट केयूरवान् मकरकुण्डलवान् किरीटी हारी हिरण्मयवपुर्धृत शङ्खचक्र
Pronounce at the lotus feet of Bhagavan. Dear brothers and sisters, I apologize to you for the short delay because of the power cut at home, which did not facilitate my going over here in time. I am very sorry about it. Well, I think we may not be meeting until June. Perhaps we will be meeting in the month of June. One thing appears to be sure, that we will not be meeting from next Sunday onwards. People say that Thursday or Wednesday, people may find it convenient to move out of this place if they want to go elsewhere or attend to their personal work. More than this, I am not supposed to speak. Well, this morning, let me talk to you on the topic physical to spiritual. Physical to spiritual. My friends, we often think that physical and spiritual are polarities of opposites. No. We also think that physical and spiritual are paradoxical, ironical. No. Some feel that physical and spiritual are contradictory. They are totally mistaken. Physical and spiritual are complementary. One is the corollary to the other. One leads to the other. One does not go in the opposite direction. Physical and spiritual are one and the same. It is only our awareness that makes all the difference. Then once we make an attempt, we can understand the superiority of the body over the matter. By further investigation, we will know that mind is more than the body. On inquiry, we will know that spirit is higher than the mind. In deep meditation, we will understand that the spirit and consciousness are one and the same. Spirit, I mean conscience, or the individual consciousness. So to put it in a sentence or a nutshell, from matter to consciousness, it is only a question of inquiry, investigation, deep study and meditation to know the identity, to know that they are complementary to each other. Those that feel that they are more and more physical and take physical as the reality, they tend to be materialistic. They are prone to be animalistic. Therefore, we cannot condition ourselves. Rather, we should not limit ourselves at the physical level. We have to travel further and further to know the spiritual in the physical life. Those that say, I am spiritual, totally spiritual, are living in a fool's paradise. There cannot be spiritual without physical. Physical is meaningless without spiritual. So both are equally very, very necessary. Root is necessary for the fruit. Fruit cannot be there without the root. Root without a fruit is a dead wood. So root and fruit are necessary. Similarly, physical and spiritual are absolutely necessary. And ultimately we realize that both are one and the same. That one is necessary for the other. The next aspect is this. It's the energy which is uniform and one and the same. We cannot categorize energy in different forms. The names are given to energy depending upon the direction in which it flows. You may call it solar energy or radiant energy. These are the names given depending upon the direction in which the energy flows, but energy is uniform, one and the same. The kinetic theory of energy also says that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. Only one form of energy can be converted into another form of energy, that's all. So in this morning's thought, as we investigate, as we discuss together in our onward journey from physical to spiritual, let us understand that the energy is the bottom line. That energy is the basis for both to exist. There is nothing like physical energy, nothing like spiritual energy. Same energy. Energy used from the point of spiritual direction, you may call it spiritual energy, and the same energy used for physical mundane activity, the daily routine, you may call it physical energy. Be that as it may, that it is the energy which is most important. Some people would not like to call God. They don't want to give the name God. They prefer to say energy. Good, all right. If you are allergic to the name God, all right, call him energy. Well, some say, no, the source of energy is God. Doesn't matter, God. But God is energetic, at least. Therefore, this energy is the fundamental aspect that we'll be considering this morning. There cannot be positive energy and the negative energy. We cannot name the energy because it is cosmic and universal. Therefore, the two of the qualities of energy are these. That energy is neutral and that the energy is nameless. It is nameless and it is neutral. The second misnomer or misapprehension or wrong conceptualization is this. Some say sublimation of energy. They say that one form of energy is sublimated or elevated to higher level. That's again wrong. A fallacy, hallucination, nothing less than imagination. It is not sublimation of energy, it is only transformation of energy. Energy which has been in one direction is made to flow in another direction, that's all. Diversion of the root, transformation, it is not sublimation. That I would like to make it very, very clear. Now as we think, if this energy is used for our physical purposes, for daily life, in the name of physical energy, we'll be able to achieve so many things in this world. We do hard work, manual work, because of energy. And I also study and read and do all that work, mental energy, psychological energy, physical energy. Some people are very sharp, intellectual energy. So energy can be used for various purposes, the physical, psychological, intellectual, and for our daily routine, for all our jobs. The same energy, if it is transformed or rather directed towards the divine, we call it transformation of energy and not sublimation as energy. Transformation. It does not mean that whole energy is transformed. No. The point is, it is made purposeful now. The energy which I have been utilizing all these times for our life purposes, for our professional expertise, shall be made use hereafter in search of the divine. It shall be used hereafter in search of self-realization. Shall be used along the path of self-inquiry. This is transformation of energy. How is it possible? That is the third question. If we leave the question as it is, we are in no way different from politicians. Unless we have solution to a problem, then we will not be able to tackle it well. Now, how to transform our energy? How to direct our physical energy towards the spiritual goals? What shall I do? Some people say, come on, do exercises. I know many people who have been exercising endlessly, but they landed nowhere. Some say better we do pranayama, breathing exercises. In so doing, they will get some other problems. It is clearly said in Dhyanavahini by Bhagavan Baba, if pranayama or breathing exercise is done by anybody, on his own or on her own, will land up themselves in a hospital. Will be developing certain other problems, as Baba said in Dhyanavahini very clearly. Pranayama or breathing exercise should be done under strict supervision, training, direction of an expert. Or else if you read it and do it, all right, you'll have other complications. So with the result we understand the exercises or yogic exercises whatsoever have not helped us in the long run. And some say I'll be counting the beads, holding a talisman or japamala. We see many people how they are rotating the beads, japamala, watching everybody. It's only finger job. Eyes do their own job. Mind elsewhere. Very good. We have not landed anywhere even by that system. The very funny thing in life is, when we want to sit for meditation, more thoughts get into our mind. More thoughts. I shared this with all of you many a time. When we purposefully want to control our mind, more thoughts will come with vengeance. With vengeance. And in so doing, you will be fighting with your mind. Let not this thought be there. No thought please, no thought please. Let me think of Swami only. In the meantime, you begin snoring. We get tired, we go to sleep. Therefore the so-called meditation, as we do, with our own limited understanding, instead of giving the experience of samadhi, it is disturbing the neighbor because of our snoring. True meditation will not disturb anybody. Most of the meditators are asked to get up by the neighbors. Wake up, please. I am no exception. Therefore, my friends, even that has not helped us. So how to divert or transform the physical energy into spiritual energy, same energy, how to direct it? The only thing is, when once we realize that the spiritual direction is more blissful than the physical, automatically we get into that higher level of bliss. More blissful state is there in the spiritual aspect. This physical aspect drops down on its own. Simple example. If I get a job and with a promising career and that there is a guarantee of promotion, I don't mind skipping off my lunch and also working lunch. But usually I am very particular of all the items for lunch, no compromise. But when there is some promotion, some extra financial gain, all right, I can satisfy with the bread. With the bread. How have you given up all your delicious items? The fellow who is so particular of sumptuous meal, how could he be simply satisfied with a plate of upma or something like that? Most often tasteless. Why? Because his career's prospects are more promising than his usual lunch routine. Similarly, when once we understand there is a higher blissful state, there is a state which is more beneficial, then there is a state which is more profitable, we reach naturally a condition that the physical gets dropped down on its own. But if you want to fight it, we will successfully fail in that. We will never be successful in fighting with the physical level. Yes, most of the people suffer from this obsession. As Baba said in one of his talks, one fellow started feeling, oh Swami, I am going to sleep now. Let me dream of Nandi, the bull. He would have said Nandi, Nandi. But at the same time he said, oh God, help me not to dream of Pandi, the pig. Pandi is pig, Nandi is the bull. Let me not get Pandi. Let me see only Nandi. But he got Pandi only. So the more you fight with the physical level, the more it will react. Because it is not such a fool to keep quiet. The dietary habits or exercises which, if we change all of a sudden, will react. They don't keep quiet. You fellow, you nurtured me so long, you want to silence me? All right, doctor will settle in the form of his bill. This will happen. So never fight with the physical level, with our senses. Never fight with our mind, because we will fail. Those that say that they have succeeded, bogus number one. Please take it from me. It is not so easy to control the mind. It's not so easy to control the senses. And it's nothing but audacity and foolishness to declare that I have conquered our senses. All right, let us avoid him. Because it's not such an easy thing. So what we have to do is, we have to understand that this physical energy and our own goals at the physical level are much inferior to the spiritual ends or spiritual goals which are more promising, which are more blissful than this physical attention gets dropped down on its own. Just like people begin to talk among themselves, some people loudly, some people forcefully, This happens. Then once Swami starts from there, total silence. So our talk stops the moment Swami starts. Similarly, the moment Swami thought or godliness or divine thought or divine attention or spiritual energy starts, the physical gets dropped down on its own without fighting. On the other hand, if we start at the physical level, wants to finish this and get into that, this lifetime is not enough. Because fighting with the mind, fighting with the body is suppression. It is repression. The body will not accept. Suppression, repression, obsession is a sign of slavery. Mind will never agree to that. Because you have been carrying this ego for the last several lives, it never accepts. Therefore, let us not fight with it. Let us get into a compromise. Okay, there is a higher thing. There is a better thing. Then as we proceed, this gets dropped down. In other words, fighting at the physical level, being inimical to our senses and the mind, is negative. Looking towards the spiritual upward movement is positive. So that is positive energy, and this is naturally fighting repression is negative energy. The positive energy, transformed energy in the spiritual aspect is certainly, you can call it meditation. Meditation is nothing but the positive energy. The physical energy transformed into spiritual energy, promising a better, more blissful state, is called meditation. But most often our idea of meditation is to get up at a particular point, particular time, early hours of the morning, ask everybody not to open the door. Sit there straight. If we have back pain, it's more problem. Sit there straight. Nobody will disturb you so that you can sleep in that room. But exactly at the time of coffee time, meditation ends. Yes, time for coffee. That's not meditation, as my friends. As said previously, meditation is a thoughtless state. A state when there are no more of thoughts is called meditation. And a state where you have got the spiritual energy, where you feel more blissful than otherwise, is meditation, true meditation in the strict sense. And the next aspect which I want to draw your point is this. Naturality is spirituality. If we are more natural, we will be more spiritual. Some people think by being serious, they can be spiritual. I don't know. But I know one for certain. They are sick. They are sick, therefore they are serious. They never smile. It's only humanity gifted with a smile. And if that is gone, we will go back in the evolution to the animal kingdom. Therefore, seriousness is not spirituality. Fasting is not spirituality. Let me not name, I know a person, quite healthy, very beautiful, well-built personality. Today, almost a skeleton. I said, what's wrong with you? I'm fasting. Why? To be more spiritual. I said, next life. You are closer to the grave and not to the heaven. Therefore, fasting is not spirituality. Certainly not. Fun, music, dance are not forbidden. Some people don't like music because they are spiritual. I see. I don't know. All saints are excellent singers like Tyagaraja, Annamacharya, Tulsidas. They are all singers. If you say that I don't like music because I'm spiritual, something wrong with your psyche. Some say I don't like dance because I'm spiritual. You are mistaken. Krishna is a wonderful dancer. Shiva is the other name of dance, Shiva Tandava. Then how do you say God may like but I don't like? Because I am more spiritual than God himself. I see. A very funny creature. Therefore let us try to be natural. I don't like food. Oh, I see. Please get yourself examined. I don't sleep. Well, it's a sign of ill health. Therefore, if we are natural, we are more spiritual. And if we are unnatural, with a neurotic mind, with a sickly mind, we can never be spiritual. Please take it from me. That's the reason why the photos of or the pictures of saints, you find a smile on their face. You don't find any picture of any saint frightening, such that you run away and close the door. With a smile so pleasing, so peaceful. Peace, bliss, smile, music, dance, laughter, ecstasy. These are spiritual qualities. Sadism, sinister pleasure, negativity, masochism, these are all irreligious features. Self-torture is masochism. Torturing others is sadism. Taking everything suspicious is negativity. These are all irreligious qualities. Some people may think they add to my efficiency. Pity, woe unto them. Therefore, my friends, let us be happy. The more happy we are closer to God. We are godly if we are happy. Laugh, ecstasy, bliss. This is positive state which I would like to draw your attention. The next point, Baba's approach to the subject may seem to be so easy at times, but it requires a sort of inquiry, a sort of deep search, inquiry. One has to ponder over within and then discuss at length to understand it clearly. On the face value, it may appear to be very simple. Simple example. Baba said, talking, walking, reading, eating, everything is meditation. If talking, eating, reading, everything is meditation, why should there be so many books on meditation in the library? Why? Why should so many people meditate, go to the forest and do it? Why? If talking, eating, reading is meditation, then so what? The statement appears to be so simple. But yet, it has got depth. It has got all its profundity. It has got all its deeper implications and wider ramifications. What does he mean? Reading, eating, talking, everything is meditation. What does he mean? I would like to view this from this angle. If we do it anything consciously, these activities are meditative. Eating, reading, walking, talking, they are all meditative. If we do them consciously, totally in it, with all full awareness. While eating, if I think of my office, it is not a meditation. While eating, if I think of tomorrow what I have to do, it's not meditation. While in the office, if I think of what pickle I should have in the lunch, it is not meditation. I said pickle because I am after pickles, what to do. This is the season, summer season. Therefore, my friends, while eating, we think of the office. While in the office, we think of eating. While talking with friends, while we think of family. Simple example. A person will have some problem with his wife at home. And he goes to his office. There in the office, he is an officer. But he behaves as the husband there. And if any fellow says, good morning, he says, because his wife gave him mouthful at home. So he is not the office, he is the officer in the office, but he is not the officer. The husband at home has come to the office, but not the real officer in him is gone. See that happens. So we are not totally in any of these actions. So walking, reading, talking, everything is meditation. Meaning, if you are conscious of it. If you are conscious of these things, that is meditation. That is a meditative mind. Or else, these are all instrumental. While riding the cycle, I'll be thinking of the cinema. Or while just driving the car, I'll be thinking of the political developments. What happens? The hands are instrumental. The legs are instrumental. That's all. They have no involvement. They have no involvement. They have no identification. Totality is missing. Holistic approach is missing. Therefore, it is unconscious. So there are two levels of functioning. Conscious level of functioning. Unconscious level of functioning. Unconscious, I do not mean being given anesthesia or taking drugs. I don't mean that. Unconscious meaning not being totally in it. Therefore, the conscious level of functioning is meditation. The unconscious level of functioning is mechanical, robot, mechanical, computerized life. Meaning everything is instrumental, like hands and the legs. That's what Baba meant by meditation. I'd like to draw your attention how this view helps us. How conscious action, which becomes meditation, how does it help us? Alright, I'm getting my salary, being at the unconscious level of functioning. I'm just carrying on my routine. How does that meditative mind helps me? The meditative mind and a non-meditative mind. Non-meditative mind is unconscious. The meditative mind is conscious, totality. How does it help us? Because we are very down-to-earth people, business-minded. We want to know what will happen, what we will get with this meditative mind. First thing is, a meditative mind will turn to be a witness. Meditative mind will turn to be witness. A witness, meditative mind is a witnessing mind. Why? How does it help me? A witness is never disturbed. A participant is disturbed. My grandfather used to tell me a very funny thing that had happened in his childhood. It seems one drama by name Harishchandra was enacted in a village. There, this Viswan Nakshatraka, the villain, goes on torturing Harishchandra. Oh yes. And Harishchandra had to lose his kingdom, lose his wife, lose his son, and he was crying, wife was crying because of this villain Nakshatraka. It seems one from the audience immediately got up to the dais, took his slipper, started hitting him. Tak, useless bugger. How long would you hold? You are torturing like, come on, I'll take him. Then that man, sir, this is drama, please. Sir, this drama, please forgive me. That's what he had to say. So my friends, what happens is, that man got up to the dais, fighting with that man, giving one or two heavy doses of blows, because he has identified with that process going on in the stage. We find many women cry in cinema theatre. Now people cry even in front of TV serials also. Why that far? The more they cry, the more successful the serial is. That's why I don't know. As Baba jokes, they receive money for crying and we pay and cry. That is the difference, that's all. But on the other hand, if you just watch a cinema, you are fully aware it is a cinema, a movie, you are fully aware of it. Even if the heroine cries, you don't cry. Even if the villain goes on being villainous or inimical towards the hero and tortures the heroine, you don't cry. Because after all, that is a cinema. I am only witnessing this cinema. You are not disturbed. Or if there is some wonderful romantic dance, romantic scene going on, you don't get yourself excited. No. It's a cinema. So nothing disturbs you because you are only witnessing. Therefore, my friend, meditative mind serves as a witness. It will never get disturbed. It will never get frustrated. It will never get elated. It will never be proud. It will never be humiliated. Humiliation or jubilation are qualities that get into you or the effects that you will have if you are the participant, non-meditative mind. Whereas a meditative mind, which is a witness, is not at all disturbed what it is. Simple example, very recently. I think Tamil Nadu New Year, I think. 2 speakers made their presentations. One is a judge, other is a doctor. Both of them narrated their experiences with Swami, the miracles and all that. Please check up your cassette. First sentence, Baba, sentence is this. All those that spoke preceding me, the judge and the doctor, they spoke all the physical aspects, nothing to do with spirituality. That's not spiritual. First sentence he said, that is Baba. I'm up in the heaven when Baba said it. I'm up in the heaven when Baba said it. And it's a tragedy if we have missed that sentence. Meaning all the miracles that we speak of are physical, worldly, nothing to do with the spiritual. Because if we link these miracles with spirituality, then all things are positive, will be more spiritual because you have linked miracles with spirituality. If anything turns negative, you will naturally in search of some other God or some other guru or some other scripture. There are so many political parties are there. Yes. Therefore, that's what Baba said. What the earlier speaker said, they are all worldly, physical, nothing to do with the spiritual. That's what Swami said. That is possible to experience if you have a meditative mind. A meditative mind will never run after miracles, will never run after experiences. It's only non-meditative mind which is opportunistic, which is political, which is dual, which is selfish, runs after these miracles and experiences. It's really high time we develop this sort of meditative mind, which will be a witness to the whole thing that is happening. A non-meditative mind, what will happen? Non-meditative mind, meaning worldly mind, materialistic mind. How does it function? I don't intend mean anybody. There are some people that smile with a purpose. When they smile, they want a favor from you. When they say, Sai Ram sir, how are you? Then they'll say, this I want from you. Next day they don't recognize you. This is non-meditative mind, or materialistic mind, or worldly mind. This is really what you call, they begin with love. It begins with love. For every book there will be a preface. Something like that. For their personal agenda, love is a preface. They begin with, how are you? How are you? Everybody fine? Would you mind to do this work for me? So love is a preface for a non-meditative mind, worldly mind. Whereas for a meditative mind, love is not a preface. Love is fragrance. Love is fragrance. Simple example. When rose flower is here, or when jasmine flower is here, the fragrant smell of it will be there throughout. Not as a preface, not as index. No. It is there throughout. So love is a fragrance in the case of a meditative mind, while love is a preface in the case of a non-meditative mind. Then another point is also this. We find a kind of artificial life today. Artificial life. As Baba said, even smiles also are artificial. There's one gentleman whom I know. His smile is very broad smile. 99% meaningless. We don't know. There's no necessity to smile that much to show us all the 32 teeth. But he is venomous in reality. That's why Shakespeare said, one may smile and smile and yet be a villain. And yet be a villain. That's what Shakespeare said. Therefore, a non-meditative mind will have love as a kind of, as an initiative, or with a motive, or as a beginning, or something like a take-off. What you say, prologue. Love is a prologue to a non-meditative mind. Whereas to a meditative mind, love is an epilogue. Prologue and epilogue are different. So meditative mind, love is an epilogue. To a non-meditative mind, it is a prologue. As I said, love is preface in the case of a non-meditative mind, while it is a fragrance in the case of a meditative mind. I would also like to draw your attention, by being a witness, because of the meditative mind, because of the spiritual energy, because of transformation of physical energy into spiritual energy, about which we have been talking about all along. What is the ultimate result? The ultimate result is friendliness. You will be friendly with everybody. If I say I am friendly to these people, something wrong. You cannot be friendly to some, unfriendly to many. It's not possible. Friendliness is the effect of a meditative mind. Friendliness is an attribute, is a quality, is the character of a person with a meditative mind. Because this meditative mind is a witness. It cannot make anybody an enemy or a friend. Therefore, compassion is the result. Meditative mind will be compassionate. Meditative mind will be friendly. Meditative mind will be highly grateful. These are the features of meditative mind. If a person is an ungrateful wretch, claim to meditate every day, it is in no way a true meditation in the strict sense of the term. Therefore, my friends, compassion, friendliness, gratitude and love are the features of a meditative mind. When once these things are not there, we can easily say that it is not true meditation. That we have to yet to grow in this process. That spiritual energy has not been there in the upward direction. That physical energy has not been transformed or transferred in the way we want, which I would like to draw your attention. And another point is this: a meditative mind and a non-meditative mind about which you have been thinking, an interesting thing. Simple example. Something is tempting there, or some pizza or coffee, some center. We have got so many coffee centers and all that there. Something tempting. Not only in my case, we find people slowly walking into mandir, while people run to the stores here. They run to the stores and ice cream stalls. But mandir slowly, gently. God can afford to wait. But pizza cannot wait. Let us be true to ourselves, my friends. And I have been telling from the beginning that I am no exception. And just sharing our experiences with each other, that's all. Therefore, the point is, supposing a man decides, let me be spiritual now on, okay? I don't go to the stores, I don't go to ice cream stalls, I don't go. Oh, this is what is called avoidance. Avoidance. You avoid because you think it is meditation, because you think it is spirituality. No, avoidance is not spirituality. Or some people say, let me buy toothpaste here only because it is Sai toothpaste. Let me purchase slippers here only, they are Swami slippers. Because stores is inside. Because if you buy something outside, it's not Swami's. If you buy inside, it's Pakka Swami's brand. There should be some method in madness. There is no method. Therefore, this kind of a feeling will be naturally there. This is indulgence. Indulgence. Everything. If you talk to anybody, they want to tell that's what Swami said, that's what. I didn't ask you what Swami said. I know that what you mean. Total indulgence. There are 2 points, my friends. One is avoidance, other is indulgence. One does not want to drink. Avoidance. One wants to drink throughout. Indulgence. But spirituality is not indulgence. It is not avoidance. I don't drink, I don't drink. You go on saying, I don't drink, but the thought is drinking all the time. Mind is drinking, but only mouth is not swallowing. Therefore, avoidance is more dangerous than indulgence. The fellow drinks, there ends the matter. The fellow does not drink, he goes on telling everybody, I am not drinking, I won't drink, drink is bad, and please stop it. By not drinking, you are not serving the society or the country. You are saving some money and you will be healthy, that's all. Therefore, in the name of avoidance, we constantly think about it. I don't play cards, I don't gamble. So what? The fellow played cards, full stop, he forgot about it. Whereas this fellow constantly thinks about it. Cards meditation, bottle meditation. How ridiculous it is. Therefore, avoidance and indulgence are equally bad. But spirituality is transcendence. Spirituality is transcendence. So, a meditative mind transcends. Meditative mind never indulges. Meditative mind does not necessarily avoid, it transcends. It is beyond. Meditative mind is beyond. Therefore, my friends, true meditation as we said, a thoughtless state, a positive approach, a conscious effort to each and every one of our activities, so that the mind becomes meditative mind by conscious effort in the positive direction, such that it acts as a witness, resulting in friendliness, gratitude and compassion. These thoughts I wanted to share with you because it is high time we think of these things stated by Bhagavan himself. Because we have got our own personal agenda, we don't pay full 100% attention to spiritual aspects that he mentions during his discourses. Because we have got our own personal problems, like giving a flower or a letter. In that we miss the most valuable things over there stated by Bhagavan. Somehow my attention, my interest is in this direction, to state and share with all our friends the serious things that Baba mentioned in his spiritual discourses, which are of very high value today. Because in the name of religion, in the name of spreading spirituality, there are many people who go on teaching, and we don't take those things in the correct sense, and we are often misguided. Baba puts things in the simplest way. There are people who are misguided, I know. Because some people come and tell me, sir, I heard this from somewhere. I heard this, someone mentioning this. I said, have you heard this here? You say someone said that there. But have you heard this here? And someone will say, someone wanted me to do this there. I have put him, are you doing this here, what Baba says? Therefore my intention is to see that our attention is not deviated, that our attention is not diverted, that our loyalty would not be questionable. By knowing these values through meditation, through spiritual aspects from time to time, in a concentrated way, diving into deeper depths and experience the spiritual bliss. May God bless you. Thank you very much for your time and being here. Sir, oh, why not? Please. You come here, sir, so all can hear you. The second mic is not working. I apologize to you.
Like Mahabharata, Ramayana, you find a lot of myths human beings, like a human being is classically explained. And in the case of Krishna also, he is really devoutly and feeding all the dhammas behind. So when you read all those things, not only is it interesting, you should take it as a superhuman beings and try to worship them and try to draw lessons from them. Suppose some miracles are not necessarily as such in that way. It's not spirituality. It becomes a little drab and dry. So we do not need to discuss this at all. Even taking, for example, Swami's race, a lot of miracles from him as a child. So it's the only thing so interesting about Swami. Miracles only has gone long to people Swami.
Very good. I'm sorry that I misunderstood. I don't mean that way, sir. Please, let me be very clear. I am not against the miracles. And it's the same miracles experiences brought me only here in Swami's fold. How can I be against? No one can be against, because Bhagavatam is nothing but collection of miracles. But one thing please remember. Krishna's miracles are witnessed by Pandavas and also Kauravas. Both the groups saw his miracles. But majority 100 fellows, they remained like that without any transformation. So mere miracle has not changed. Duryodhana has not changed. He got doctorate in changelessness. Yes, Dusyasana. No miracle can change me. He continued to be like that. So miracle is a means to an end, but not an end by itself. A miracle should take us to a particular level of thought, a particular level of comprehension, a particular level of understanding, a particular state of sadhana. It should take us to a new path, a new direction, new temperament, new attitude, new energy altogether. To quote Baba, miracles are like mosquitoes and spirituality is the size of an elephant, that Baba said. Year 1972, May, summer discourses, Vrindavan. You think of these miracles as mosquito size and you forget the elephant. We forget Krishna's teachings, Bhagavad Gita, and we think of the miracles. I'm not against it, please. How great Krishna is to have done these miracles. And his main intention is to spread Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, as Baba said once again, a miracle is a visiting card for us to have the taste of the divinity. But life is not going to be miracles throughout. And a miracle need not necessarily be positive. Death is a miracle. Death is a miracle. Why should I say birth is a... Oh sir, I had a son this morning. Oh, I see a miracle. I never expected that. I see. Birth and death are equally miracles. Profit and loss are equally miracles. But that we call miracle if anything happens to our advantage. In our faith, if I get a medical college seat, a miracle. But I say if I don't get it, it is a double miracle. Because if you get a medical college seat, you become only a doctor. If you don't get a seat, you may become a collector or a minister or a district judge. Double miracle, triple miracle, multiple miracle. Therefore, the miracle is the way how you look at it. Now, a miracle now, positive. In the long run may turn to be negative. I got 10 lakhs of rupees now. Appa, miracle, very good. Next day there may be income tax raid and I may lose everything. A miracle, income tax officer took away all the money. Therefore, my friends, a miracle is the way how we take it. Every sunrise is a miracle. Every sunset is a miracle. Every blossoming flower is a miracle. Smiling child in the cradle is a miracle. Our daily life is a miracle. But if anything happens special to our favor, we consider it a miracle. That stage too, we should go to a stage higher, that whatever that happens is God's will. It's not a miracle, it's a God's will. From miracle to God. Thank you very much. Asato ma sagamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrutyorma amrutangamaya om lokas samasta sukhino bhavantu lokas samasta sukhino bhavantu lokas samasta sukhino bhavantu om shanti shanti shanti. जय बोलो भगवान श्री सच्चाई बाबा जी की जय बोलो भगवान श्री सच्चाई बाबा जी की थैंक यू.
सदा सवित्रमण्डल मध्यवर्ती नारायण सरसिजासन सन्निविष्ट केयूरवान् मकरकुण्डलवान् किरीटी हारी हिरण्मयवपुर्धृत शङ्खचक्र सविक्रमण्डल मध्यवर्ती नारायण सरसिजासन सन्निविष्ट केयूरवान् मकरकुण्डलवान् किरीटी हारी हिरण्मय वपुर्धृत शङ्खचक्र पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं मेघवर्णं शुभांगं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिभिर्ध्यानगम्यं वन्दे विष्णुं भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथं शान्ताकारं भुजगशयनं पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं मेघवर्णं शुभांगं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिभिर्ध्यानगम्यं वन्दे विष्णुं भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथं त्रैलोक्यपूजितः श्रीमान् सदा विजय वर्धन शान्ति कुरु गदापाणे नारायण नमोस्तुते त्रैलोक्यपूजितः श्रीमान् सदा विजय वर्धन शान्ति कुरु गदापाणे नारायण नमोस्तुते सविक्रमण्डल मध्यवर्ती नारायण सरसिजासन सन्निविष्ट केयूरवान् मकरकुण्डलवान् किरीटी हारी हिरण्मय वपुर्धृत शङ्खचक्र सविक्रमण्डल मध्यवर्ती नारायण सरसिजासन सन्निविष्ट